It's kind of funny. With everything that has happened recently, this is actually the thing that makes me the most nervous. So, bear with me on this, please. As many of you probably know by now, I am Tara Grace. I was formerly known as Adam Grace. I went to school with many of you, went to church, all sorts of different things. I know you from all sorts of different places. I'm sure a lot of you have a lot of questions about who I am, why I am the way I am, and I want to help you answer those questions. Before I can do that, I need you to know that I'm sorry. I pushed a lot of people away, and if you're watching this, you might be one of those people. If I ever made you feel like you weren't good enough, or that I thought you were a bad person, I'm sorry. I don't think any of you are bad people. I love and admire all of you. Even the ones who hurt me when I was younger, I know that I brought a lot of it on myself. I wasn't always easy to love. I inserted myself in places I didn't need to be. I was weird. I continue to be weird. I was socially inept. I get it. I know it wasn't easy putting up with me sometimes. Uh, I'm not mad at you for it. I know some of you picked on me, and I mean, you were right. I am a girl. I am gay. So, you knew something I didn't. Congrats. So, no, I don't hate any of you. I, I spent a lot of time reflecting on my childhood and my early life, trying to make sense of why I am the way I am and who I need to be in the future. Our high school reunion was a few weeks after I came out publicly, and I know a lot of you wanted me there, but I didn't go. And it's not because I was trying to push you away, but because I wasn't ready to go until I was the real me. I needed you to see who I really am, and I didn't even know yet. And it's not been until very recently that I've really discovered who I am. One of the questions you might be having is why I choose to identify as woman. I mean, I'm not exactly super feminine, to be honest here. My voice is pretty deep. It has more to do with just physical appearance. It has a lot to do with who I am as a person and just the way I see myself and how I treat others and the things that I care about. A lot of it goes down to that. It goes down to the people I prefer to spend my time with, the way I prefer people to see me. But a big thing to know is that although I see myself as a woman, as weird as this may sound to you, I also kind of see myself as a man. I see myself in the people who raised me and the people who set me on the path to become the person that I am. And that was made of both men and women, and I embrace both of them. I just feel like the woman part is just more important to me because I couldn't be the person who I am now if it wasn't for the woman half, if that makes any sense to you. I am who I am because I care about other people. I care about them so much that I would do anything in my power to protect them. I'm willing to put my livelihood on the line for them because I care about them, and that is the man that I see in myself. I want you to see that too, that, yeah, I call myself a woman, but I don't hate men. I embrace them. I look up to them. I admire them. I see myself in them sometimes, especially when it comes to loving the ones you love. The only times I really related to male characters were in times where they were truly in love with their wives or girlfriends and they put themselves on the line to protect them. That is what I always aspired to be, and that is who I am trying to be, protecting those that I care about. And that means people like you, people I grew up with, people I share cherished memories with that make me smile even to this day. I know I could have handled things a lot better these last 2 years. I know some of you tried to reach out to me and I pushed you away. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for making you feel bad, for the way you treated me before. I'm not the person I was back then. I'm sure you're not them either. I'm sorry for bringing up the past. Um, I'm sorry. So I don't know if you've heard by now, but on April 7th, I protested the Taco Bell that I worked at. Now, I know a lot of you saw me in high school, saw me at that age, and saw how smart I was, and thought I was going to do something. I mean, I was nominated the Future Forbes 500 or whatever. I didn't really do anything. I dropped out of college. I just worked a retail job. I need you to understand that I did that because I just didn't care. I didn't care about myself or my life or my future. I didn't care about anything because I saw myself dying early and dying young because that's what I wanted. I don't know how many of you know this or remember this, but I lost my dad when I was in 5th grade. He'd had a brain tumor for as long as I could remember, ever since I was really little. The few vivid memories I do have of my dad are him laying in a hospital bed, communicating with me by pointing to an index card. Going through something like that at that age without the proper resources can really do something to you. I I spent a lot of my life thinking that something like that was going to happen to me, that that was what I was fated to. I was either going to wind up getting a brain tumor like that, or something else like that was going to happen to me, because it's what I saw, it's what I was exposed to growing up, and that's just what it felt like life was like. Bad things happen to you, and you die, and you just have to live with it. And so I just didn't care about my future because it didn't feel like it was worth investing in because it was going to end tragically before I could do anything. I lost my first grandfather when I was in my early teens. I wasn't even there when it happened. I was at church camp and he was already dead and buried by the time I got back. I lost my other grandfather when I was in my early 20s, and then I lost a step grandfather who had been like a father to me shortly after. I have lost a lot of people in my life, and I never really got to connect with them the way I should have before it was too late. I lost them, and I will never get them back. I will never get to tell them how important they were to me or let them see the person they helped me become. People who stood up for what was right and who cared about the loved ones in their lives. Growing up without a dad definitely left a mark on me, but not because I didn't have a father figure, but because I thought I didn't. Um, I know a lot of you don't believe in me. I had a lot of potential and I squandered it because I didn't care. The truth is, I never really left home. I moved out of my mom's basement, but home to me was always sitting in my bedroom by myself, watching movies or playing video games, and making believe that I was in another world with cool powers or whatever. I never really grew up, even though I moved out. I still very much stayed a child up until recently. And so I know why many of you don't believe in me, and I get that. And I want to prove to you I'm different. I still sometimes go back there because it is comforting when life is hard and you need a break. Sometimes I'll watch an old one or a new one that excites my inner child. I've watched two movies here recently that have really reminded me of something. The original Spider-Man and Onward. There's a scene in the first Spider-Man where Uncle Ben is trying to give Peter some life advice, and Peter pushes him away because he's not his real dad. And then Onward, if you haven't seen it yet, I highly suggest you do. I'm about to spoil it for you. The main character is looking for this bond with his dad that he never had, and through the course of the movie, he realizes that he had that bond all along with his older brother. And I realize that there are people in my life who were there for me to help guide me when I didn't have someone, and I will be forever thankful for them for that. Thank you. I'm sorry that I ever made you feel like you did wrong by me because you didn't. People like Blake Bradley and David Fortner, you helped me become the person I am today. a person who cares about young people and who cares about our future and our communities. People who fight for them and do whatever it takes to protect them. Let me tell you about Devin. Devin was one of the people I worked with. He's 20 years old. He wants to be a cop. It's usually a big red flag for people like me. We don't usually like cops. But I want him to be a cop. I want him to be a cop so bad. Because we need cops like him. I'll tell you why. There's this other kid named Armani. Now Armani, if you couldn't tell by the name, is black. He's 18, and he's told me stories about how he is at school. That he's often a troublemaker. But that's not the Armani that I see. At work, he is kind and respectful and who treats other people well. I never correct people when they misgender me. I don't. It doesn't bother me. You can call me he or ma'am or I love myself and that's enough. And I realize that when you treat people well, they will take the time and patience and they will do better with time if you just let them. And so I let them. I don't correct them. I just I let them take however long it takes for them to see the real me. And when they do, they get it right. They just do because they understand. Armani corrected people. I never asked him to. I never did. And yet he always corrected people on my behalf. He was one of the first people I worked with, and he has been a delight every day that I worked with him. And Devin, when I interviewed him for his position, Armani came in just regular street clothes. Didn't try to get all dressed up. Didn't try to, make him look more than what he was. And when Devin saw that, he saw a young, honest, hardworking man. He didn't see someone who was lazy, who didn't put in effort. He just saw someone who was like himself and relatable. That's the kind of people we need in our future if we are to become better as a society. When I was arrested, there were 4 cops there. 2 of them laughed at me and mocked me for what I was doing. One of them said nothing. The 4th one said that no, I was right. Places like Taco Bell should be shut down. There was no reason for them to be open. We need more people like that who will say what is right to protect their communities even when others disagree with them. We need people like Devin, and we need them to be cops. I know some people don't like cops, but I know they are important. And I want people like Devin to become those cops. Because if we have more people like him out there doing the right thing and believing in people and his community, we're going to become much better off. I think about people that I went to school with that they remind me of. People in my community that I grew up in who may have made mistakes at one point in their past and who have become better people because of them. People who have had dreams that they have pursued and it has helped them help their community. I think of people like that losing their lives right now, and it fills me with unimaginable sorrow. People with bright futures, people like my sister. What about Tony? Tony was a bad kid, a lot, when we were younger. But we became friends through high school. He was a genuine friend who was always there for me when I needed it. He was one of the few people who made an effort to hang out with me, but he didn't always make the right choices. And I think about him being on the front lines during this, and the mistakes he might have made, and the people it would have hurt because of it. I think about myself at that age. I think about some of the other people that we went to school with. I know, however they may have turned out, they weren't always who they are now. We were all young, we all made mistakes, we all did foolish stuff. We know people who did foolish stuff. And we know people who may have been foolish back then, who aren't foolish anymore, but their mistakes that they make right now could cost them forever. It could cost people their lives, and nothing is being done to stop it. If you ever believed in me, if you ever thought for 1 second that I was smart or that I knew what I was talking about, I ask that you listen to me now. This is the time. This is what my life has led to. I have led an interesting life. I have seen things because of it. I have met people and talked to people, and it has given me a very unique perspective that I don't believe that many other people have. I am seeing things. I have seen things in the last few weeks that many people aren't really aware of, and of the ones who are aware, I'm one of the few people bold enough to step up and say something. I have lived in small towns all my life. I love small towns. I love living in small towns where you can sit out in the country at night and look up at the stars with no one else around for miles. I like small towns where people know you and they wave and say hi. I'm not a big fan of big cities. I never have been. I like some of the attractions, but it's some place I like to visit, not some place I'd want to stay. I want to protect towns like ours. For the last 2 years, I've been living in Carbondale. And if you've spent time in Carbondale, you know it's a bit different than most other cities around here. That's because Carbondale is a college town. A lot of times people who go to college at SIU, they come from Chicago and they end up staying here. And they bring their Chicago mentality with them. If you've ever really driven in Carbondale a lot, you'll realize that it kind of drives like a big city. People are a bit more in a rush. Everything just moves a bit differently. I've also been working in Mount Vernon. Mount Vernon is about the same size, but it is still made up of small town people. It is a city that has grown because it lies at the intersection of two interstates, and that business has allowed it to grow a lot. They move very differently. In Mount Vernon, people still act like they're in a small town most of the time. Things move a bit slower till you get closer to the interstate. Elsewhere, it's more laid back. We all know there's a difference between big city attitudes and small town attitudes. We all know it. Pretty obvious. It's not always true. There are some people in small towns who act like they live in a big city and vice versa. But overall, people in small towns act differently than people in big ones. Living in Carbondale and working in Mount Vernon has shown me how people in those two different lifestyles are handling this. In Carbondale, people are taking it a lot more seriously than they are in Mount Vernon. There are a lot more people staying home, a lot more people going out wearing masks. A town that is usually rushing and bustling is a lot quieter than normal. There's still people out, but meanwhile, in Mount Vernon, things are pretty much the same. There are businesses that are, closed, and there are less people out because of that, but anyone who can go out still is. Working in food service and seeing the people coming through fast food, being able to compare business to how things were before, it's not really changed a lot. Even with lobby closed, we are still making comparable sales to what we were before. Part of that is because there are people who are buying much bigger orders than normal, but it's still a lot of people coming through. Just the other day, we had 400 cars on Free Taco Day, which is a lot of people. Some people in small towns are taking this more seriously. People like Melissa Porter. Melissa, if you're watching this, thank you. Seeing you make masks lit a fire in me. It made me realize that there was something more I could be doing to help those in need. I realized I had a particular set of skills and knowledge that others didn't, and I could use that to help people. And so I did, because you were one of the ones who inspired me. There needs to be more people like you and like me who are taking action instead of just saying something needs to be done. People like you and me need to be doing something. So thank you for getting me to do it. I know small towns. I know why they're not treating this as seriously as they should. In small towns, we're a lot more trusting. We are a lot more forgiving of others. In places like big cities, they have bulletproof glass in all their drive-through locations because they don't trust anyone. And precautions like that are precautions that keep them safe from spreading the virus more than it already spread. But we have a bit more faith down here in other people, and we don't take precautions like that. And right now, we need to be, because if not, we're going to get hurt. I want to be in small towns the rest of my life if I can. I like going to big cities sometimes. I like having the activities, the restaurants. That's cool. I like that. But at the end of the day, I want to come home to a small town, that's where I want to lay my head. I want to do everything in my power to protect small towns because I believe in my heart that small towns are what make America great. I truly believe that. I know some of you aren't going to want to hear this, but you need to. You are being led astray by Trump. Um, since the beginning of this, Trump has not taken this seriously, and that is why it has become the problem that it has become. We've seen stuff like this before: H1N1, swine flu, bird flu, whatever. We all freaked out and nothing happened. And so it seems though it sounds like, oh, we're just freaking out over nothing. Nothing has really happened in a lot of our small towns yet. And so this seems all like a big deal for nothing. But I promise you something is going to happen if we don't get our guard up while we still have time left. You need to understand that Trump cares more about his public image than he does about people. And it's not entirely his fault, I will say that. Clearly, he wasn't loved. At least it doesn't seem like it. I get the feeling that he's trying to fill a hole, that he wants people to love him because he doesn't love himself. That if he can convince himself that all these other people adore him, then maybe he's not so bad, or something along those lines. That's that's the um, that's the impression I get from him. He's doing everything in his power to get that attention and admiration that he so desperately needs. And it certainly doesn't help when you have liberals and people on the left just pointlessly calling him names all day. It certainly doesn't help. I don't know if Trump would have made the choices he made if it weren't for people on the left who criticized him as much as they did. It's pretty clear that the thing Trump cares about most is how people view him. And that is going to cost people their lives. And we can't let that happen. A lot of people thought that all the virus stuff was just overblown, and so it got done away with. Um, but did you ever stop to think that maybe it was overblown for a reason? Remember Y2K? Um, Nothing happened. But people panicked for months and months, and we all thought something big was going to happen. Nothing did. Um, but there was a reason we panicked, and that's because something needed to be done. And because we panicked, stuff got done. Panicking wasn't the best choice, I mean, obviously, but asses got in gear. People got stuff done. And the reason that nothing happened is because we made such a big deal out of it. The people who needed to do things got it done, and nothing bad happened. Remember 9/11. Imagine sitting in the tower, in the second tower, and watching the plane hit the first, and thinking for yourself for a minute, well, at least that wasn't us. At least something that bad didn't happen to us. We have a chance to do something before the second plane hits. I know a lot of you are feeding into that feeling that, oh, this is just another thing that we don't need to take seriously. We can just blow it off because we've been hearing it hyped and hyped for weeks and weeks, and we still don't know anyone around us that's affected. But it's close. It's getting close. I know the national average is about there, but you have to remember that that's counting in for big cities with highly densely populated areas where this thing started. But it has been spreading this way ever since. It is spreading because of truck drivers. They are bringing stuff because we are buying so much stuff. They are spreading it down their routes. As they stop at gas stations, they are picking it up and they are carrying it to the next one or to the next food place they go. The first cases in the town that I was working in, Mount Vernon, were truck drivers and food service workers. That is where it's going to spread. We need to stop food service. We can't stop the trucks, but we can stop food service. We need to stop it. I promise you, bad things will happen if we don't. People are leaving their guard down, and bad things are going to happen because of it. I need you to understand that. I know small towns, I really, really do. We trust people too much. We trust that everyone out there is making the right choice, and we should know better. We remember a time that we didn't, and right now is not a good time to let that blind faith in others carry us through because it will hurt us. If there was a delay between the first and second planes and we let planes keep going out without landing them, then something could have happened that we could have prevented. Lives would have been lost if we hadn't have done something. We have a chance to keep the second plane from hitting. We need to do something now before it is too late. I promise you this is going to happen. Maybe not to our town, but to some other town like ours. And the risk is too great to not do something. Our best case scenario, I need you to understand something. The best case scenario is I get you to take this seriously and nothing happens. I know if that does, then a lot of people are going to look at me and be like, oh, well, she was paranoid for nothing. Nothing happened. Whatever. But that will only happen if you take this seriously. If you take this seriously, nothing will happen. That's what we want to happen. We don't want to lose people in our communities. We don't. The things that make small-town America great could very well prove to be its downfall in this time. And we can't afford to lose small-town America. We can't. It is small-town America that has created some of this world's greatest heroes. People like George Washington, who stood up for what was right and who fought authority and protected people. We need people like that if we ever want to survive as a community. I know a lot of you love Trump, and I hate to be the one to say this to you, but you need to not listen to him right now. Even if you agree with him most of the time, you need to realize this is a time that he is wrong. You need to accept that people have faults, and this is definitively his fault. If we had taken this seriously from the get-go, bad things wouldn't have happened. We let our guard down because of all the times that we put our guard up and nothing bad happened. But nothing bad happened because we put our guard up. And we let our guard down because we thought nothing bad would happen, and now it's going to happen. That's why 9/11 happened. We let our guard down. Bad things happened because we didn't think they could. We can't let that happen again. We said we would never forget, so don't forget the lessons we learned. Trust people, but protect people. Make sure we're making the right choices, that we are protecting people from those who want to do us harm or for those who leave us vulnerable for their own sake. I know a lot of you don't believe in me. And again, I don't blame you. I've not really done anything to prove myself, and I'm trying to now, because I believe in myself now. I didn't before, I do now. I know what I'm talking about, and I'm going to fight to prove it. Nothing's going to happen before Tuesday. I'm trying as much as I can, but nothing is happening. And on Tuesday, I am going to protest again, this time in Harrisburg, hoping that seeing my name in the paper will get people talking about me and will get people watching this video so they can hear what I have to say. And I'm doing that just to get heard. I'm putting myself on the line in the hopes that you will listen to this and pay attention to it. That's how much this means to me. I can't afford to do this. I really can't. I don't really have the support of my family because of the mistakes I made. I'm regretful for them, and I want to prove to them that I'm not the person I was back then, that I am stronger, and I am a good person who is doing things that they can be proud of. But right now I don't have them on board. I have already relied on other people a lot on this, and I don't want to rely on them too much because I know they are going through a lot as well. Many of them are out of jobs or aren't getting as many hours as they can, and I don't want them to get hurt helping me. But I need to get attention. I don't really have any savings. I, again, didn't really care about my future, so I didn't really try. I had some for a little bit, but for those of you who worked with me at Walmart and heard me getting fired, I kind of just didn't do anything after that for a while, and I blew through what savings I had so that I could just do nothing, because that's all I wanted to do. And I never really recovered from that. I took another job doing tech support because I thought that if I got a job like that, that it would help me feel like I fit in more. And I hated it. I hated every second of it. and I didn't do well at it. I sufficed up until the point that I got fired for being bad at small talk. Believe it or not, when who who could have thought of that? I took this job because I believed in myself. Because I like Taco Bell. I always have. It's been my favorite fast food restaurant. And when you work doing something that you love, it's easy to be good at it. When you care about um, the food, it's easy to do it right. And I found that. Um, and I was doing good at my job. People there loved me. You may not believe it, but I promise you it is true. Um, you can call up and ask anyone, um, just about anyone. There's some people I didn't work very much with, but the people I did, I was well loved. We were a new store, and I was one of the first management candidates that was selected. And my new GM told me that he wanted me as his first assistant manager. I had been there for only a few months, and this isn't some young kid. This is a 40 or not 40. He's not that young. This is a 50 something chain smoker who has been in the armed forces and who has worked in restaurants like this all his life. He is a blue collar man through and through, and he saw me and respected me for who I was. And it's people like him that I want to protect, because it's people like him that make this country great. He saw in me something. He did not want to call the cops on me. It broke his heart, I could tell. But I gotta do everything I can to protect him, because I'll never live with myself if I don't. I've lost too many people without doing something first, without at least showing them how important they were to me. And even if something bad happens to him, I want him to know how far I was willing to go to protect him. Because people like him matter. And we're being told by people much bigger than us that we don't. Just because our paychecks aren't that big. But it's people like him that are helping build the people of tomorrow. People like Armani and Devin and Taylor. Taylor is she calls herself the CEO. On one of her very first days there, our district manager gave her a commendation for being just a real go-getter, basically. She's always she's got a lot of drive, I guess. You tell her to do something and she does it. She doesn't fight you on it. She just, yes, right away. Okay, I want to do that for you. Whenever she's online, she's always pushing and driving herself to be as fast as she can be. She's always pushing herself to be the best worker she can be. And there are more kids coming through there every day. And people like Tony and people like me are helping them to become the best people they can be. I'm doing that by showing them the importance of standing up for what's right. They've already reached out to me and told me how much they appreciate what I'm doing. I'm hoping to light a fire in them, even if I do fail. Hopefully they'll understand that I tried to protect people, and that's what matters most. Money will never save you, people will. People are what save people. You can have all the money in the world, but when a tornado comes through, it's going to be people who help pick up the pieces and help you put things back together. People. People who care about each other and care about their communities. People that I want to protect with my life and my freedom, because I care about them. So, on this coming Tuesday, I'm going to do this again. I'm going to protest the Harrisburg Taco Bell and block its drive-thru as well. I will get arrested again. I won't have the bail money. I didn't have the bail money last time. I had to wait for people to get me out. I spent 12 hours. I'm not going to have the money this time until my last paycheck post tomorrow, and I'm going to use 150 of that to pay my bail, and the rest is going to pay back the person who helped get my car out of impound. And after that, I will have basically nothing left. I gave away a job I loved to do this. I genuinely loved Taco Bell, and I saw a future there. I could have made something of it. I could have wound up in management, like upper management. I had the know-how, the drive, the fire to do it. I genuinely liked it there. I've always loved Taco Bell, but right now they're doing the wrong thing. I want them to do the right thing. So, if no one listens to this and nothing is done, then on Tuesday I am going to block the Taco Bell again and I will get jailed again. And I will have to bail myself out this time. I hope by then you will realize how serious I am about this and how seriously you all need to be taking it. Um, but I will be doing this again and again until more is being done. And I don't know how I'm going to bail myself out the next time, but I'm going to do it anyway. That's why I'm asking for your help with this GoFundMe campaign. I'm not trying to ask for a handout. I have been spending every waking second on this since it happened. Um, First 12 hours I spent in jail. Um, since then, I have written letters to Taco Bell, to politicians, to anyone who will listen. I have made this video as well as the GoFundMe campaign and its video. I have spent a lot of time just thinking about what the next move needs to be. I am spending every ounce of energy and time that I can on this. There are many days where I have only gotten a handful of hours of sleep because I needed to get up and start responding to people. And I'm going to keep doing that until this is all over. I can't afford to get a job right now. I cannot afford to be spending time on something else right now because that's time I could be spending on this. Time spent saving lives, possibly. If something is done before this is all over, we could save one life. Even just one life, and that would be worth it. Throwing away everything that I threw away is easily worth it if I can save just one person. And that is what I am desperately trying to do and why I need your help. I'm not asking for much. I'm asking you to help make sure I get bailed out and that I can continue to pay for myself to eat and sleep. I don't even have internet right now. I haven't in months. I'm using my cousin's place to do this right now. I don't have any resources. And that's because I made the wrong choices before and I didn't learn from them. And I'm learning from them now. I am committing myself. I'm not backing down. I'm fighting tooth and nail, even when things are hard, because I believe if I keep going, that things will get better. That's the American spirit. That's what it's about. Putting your nose to the grindstone and giving it your all. And that's what I'm doing right now. But I need people's help to make sure I don't fail. That something happens, even if lives are not saved, whenever this is all over, if this is big enough, people will be able to look at it and say, hey, someone said something. And we'll be able to punish people who let people die and didn't do anything earlier because we will have shown them, hey, we tried to say something and you didn't listen. You refused to listen. You let people die. Now you are going to suffer the consequences. Because that's what makes America great. We don't let stuff like that stand. I want you all to get to know me. And when this all blows over, I want to get closer with a lot of you that I have hurt or pushed away in the past. I feel like I'm finally the person I was meant to become. I feel like I was where I was when I needed to be. I feel like a lot of my last few years have been miracles. Some of you may not believe this. I still believe in God and Jesus. I still consider myself a Christian. I am doing what I am doing because I believe in the Bible and I believe in Jesus. I believe in who he was and I believe in what he did. I know why he did the things he did and I am doing my best to be like him. I'm driving out the moneylenders. I am taking the punishment for other people's sins because I'm trying to help them. Because I care about them. Because that's what Jesus would do. And that's who I want to be like when I grow up. That's who I've always wanted to be like. I hope I have your support in this. I know you don't believe in me now, and I don't blame you for it, but please, keep listening to me. Think about what I'm saying. If not now, at least when this is over and you realize I was right and I always cared. Maybe you'll listen to me in the future and I can prevent something like this happening ever again. I care. I genuinely care. I care about you, and I'm sorry if I ever made you feel like I didn't. I care about each one of you. Even people who are watching this now who I've never met before. If you grew up in a small town like mine, I care about you. If you grew up in a big city, I still care about you, but if you're in a small town, I care about you just a little bit more. Because I grew up in a small town. Small towns are what this country is made of. It's big cities that let the virus in. They're letting it spread to us. We can't. We can't do nothing. We can't. Please, I ask you to believe in me. I want you to get to know me. I want you to get to know why I am the way I am. But we don't really have that time right now. I ask that you trust me, and just, if there's any part of you that thinks maybe I do know something and I do have something inside of me, now is the time to believe in me. I know a lot of you have been disappointed in me, and I don't blame you. I don't. I could have been better. I should have been better. Even early in this, I could have been better. I should have been better. I'm I'm trying to be better now. I really am. Please help me.